Do this. Maybe I should keep my screen on when I do these zooms. Gives it that human touch. But let's get started. So I have some coffee in front of me. I grabbed some cold brew. Actually, Starbucks now has a spicy coffee drink, so I'm kind of addicted to it. It's like cold brew, but then it's like got a little cold foam layer, and it's almost like cayenne pepper in it. Man, and that spice pops. Makes my heart smile and makes me all giddy with excitement. So let's do this. Anyway, let me know what you're drinking in the comments. Just drop them in the YouTube comments. If you want me to take a look at a coin as we're going through this broadcast and stream, just let me know on that as well. I'm happy to look at whatever you guys are looking. Just remember, if it's like a shit coin that launched 3 days ago, I have no idea. There's no data. I can't tell anything. But if it's a coin that has some efficacy that's been around for a little bit, I can probably take a good look at it and we can figure out what direction it's headed or what potential it actually has. Before we get into that, we're going to kind of take a look at coin market cap and we're going to see where we're at. Are we dead? Are we going to pump? Are we somewhere in the middle? Is it all over? Who knows, but we'll find out today. So let's get started. Let me share my screen. And if you can't see my screen, just let me know. But that should be good. You should be able to see coin market cap at this point. Ask my views on AI coins. Do you think more pump? Oh, yeah, of course. Like AI is the biggest meta this year. There's two big metas. AI, well, there's three big metas. AI, RWA, and memes. Like all three of those are going to go back and turbo pump again. We're just kind of in a holding pattern right now. So with where I'm at, let's take a look at CoinMarketCap and just get a general overview of the market, like what people are thinking, what people are doing. I wanted to take a look at Twitter too, and let's see all the LARPing and shit going on over there with people kind of pretending they're dying and they're selling everything to get engagement. That'll be fun. But fear and greed is actually back down to a 60. That's pretty low. We were up to like 87 at one point. When it starts to get up here in this like 85 plus zone, it's probably a good point for a correction. So now where we're at, we've come all the way down to a 60. I wouldn't be surprised to see us come back down into like the 55s, and that gives us a pretty good spot to probably see us move back up. We'll take a look at the charts too. But looking at when you zoom out, we're at 63,900. We've been up, we're down 1% over 7 days, which means it's just chop on top of chop on top of chop, just choppity chop, chop, chop all over the place. ETH is actually up 1%, surprisingly. It hasn't tanked as hard, and neither has Sol. BNB's up 7%. BNB's kind of been a silent mover this last week or so. Sol's only down 2%. I think its low was like 120 or something, up at 143 at this point. Let's see, anything else? Everything else is kind of just chilling. We've got Sheeb that announced that they've got I think they announced they got like $15 million in funding. So Sheeb is like actually building stuff now. Maybe they're not even a meme coin anymore. Maybe it has some efficacy behind it, but it's up 11% on the news. Tron seems to always be moving the right direction. Actually, Link is moving. We've got Near, which is turbo pumping. So a lot of coins actually doing quite well up in the top. HBAR had that news that BlackRock was using it, but then BlackRock said that they weren't, so it dumped. So HBAR got like a fake news pump. You got Pepe up 43%. Pepe's actually smashing it right now. So some markets actually doing quite well. And it's the markets that either have some news pumping them or markets that have some sort of like insiders pumping, I guess. We got Floki up, Onks up 77%. So over the last 7 days, some things are actually moving. Overall, the market's kind of sideways. Let's go over here. I actually discovered we have a news category. So let's see what's going on in the news. So why is Bitcoin price not soaring? What's needed for a rise? Analyst says what to watch. Okay, who cares? Runes exploit. Okay. Let's kind of find and see if there's any decent news. Fed's reserve key inflation metric goes bearish. Nothing really. It's just a bunch of, I just saw this. Senator Warren or whatever her name is decided that crypto is the main vehicle of payment for people in like child trafficking. She's on a war. Like she's ready to take this thing down. Top 5 crypto pre-sales. Usually this is just like someone LARPing, selling their own bags that they're already in. So a lot of the news is kind of garbage. Let's take a look at Twitter. Let's see. I've found that on my Twitter, like half this stuff isn't even stuff that I'm actually like subscribed to or paying attention to. I think Friendtech has a lot of efficacy, so that's something to pay attention to. Obviously, this guy's talking about a Lambo. When people start talking about Lambos and watches and selling all this bullshit, that's when you know to get out of the market. Like obviously, this is just one, but that's something to pay attention to. Most of crypto Twitter is just people pumping their own bags. Basically, it's like Brett. Insiders have like 80% of the bags. So people talking about how we're just trying to see this massive crash. This is basically just engagement farming. Help, help, we're all going to die. Help, help, we're all going to die. Help, help, we're all going to die. Please follow my Twitter. Please retweet me. Please like me. Please give me engagement and love me. So that's kind of, I don't know if there's a ton going on right now in crypto Twitter. So let's move over and start looking at charts. Let me see if there's any questions. Anything in the comments, drop them below. What do you think about Near? I think Near is great. I'll take a look at it. We'll take a look at SWE too. Let's see. All right, let's take a look at charts now. I'm already over Twitter. It's kind of a, I kind of just want to silence everything and not follow anyone. Don't follow like 10 people who you know you can actually trust and believe in. But ultimately, it's kind of tough. There's a lot of noise and it really messes with the way you think when you start following Twitter too closely. Let's go to the charts because the charts don't lie. Okay, so we're going to start off with Bitcoin. We're going to come in here into my crypto list and we'll take a look at what's going on here. If you're in the broadcast right now, make sure that you go and you like the broadcast. If you see this on Twitter, go retweet it. If you like this on YouTube, it says that I'm basically someone worth following, not a big old scammer. So like the broadcast. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you're not following me on Twitter, before we get into charts, go follow me on Twitter. It's just Chandler SAF. I will share my screen to show it real quick. And then we'll get into some deep and heavy charts. We'll get heavy with the charts. So follow me on Twitter if you're not. I don't even know how to find my own profile. There we go. So just Chandler SAF, go here, give me a follow. If you're watching this off of here, make sure you like it and retweet it. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you like the broadcast, and then you subscribe to me if you're not subscribed yet. So let's get into the charts. Okay, so when we look at Bitcoin on a macro scale, let me just make it clean for a second. On a macro scale, not really a lot has happened. The things that are concerning, let's start off with the high time frames. Let's see what it looks like from the higher time frame viewpoint. So with where we're at on the weekly time frame, we've just been down only for what, 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. We've literally just only gone down for 4 straight weeks. We've actually wicked off of the weekly support here at 60. Right now it's at 60,800. It looks like we're probably going to get an impulse down to that if we don't close above the 65.5 zone. If you can see, every time we get above that, it's like we held here, we held here, we held, then we lost it, died, came back up, got rejected off of it. Now we're below it. So if we keep rejecting off this, we're probably headed right back down here to the 61K zone, which will be another test. See if we get a big pump and if that allows us to move forward. But I would anticipate if we keep doing this, we're probably going to get it back down in the 61K zone, could potentially lead for us into this 56K zone. So that would kind of be my ultimate zone to pay attention to and look out for in terms of where we're headed. When we look at the 3-day chart, it kind of tells a similar story. So the 3-day, I talked a while back about how we were going to get this 3-day pump, and we did. We hit, and then we bounced. We actually had a decent bounce. We bounced from 59.6 up to 67. So that was the 3-day pump. The problem now, though, is we're rejecting. We rejected off of this like 65,411, 65,500 zone. So right here, the problem with that is now that sent us straight back down to the bottom of the 3-day trend. If we lose the 3-day trend, we go into that weekly trend that I was just talking about, where we get into the 60s and like the 59s. So that's something to pay attention to. The other thing that's a little concerning is we're peeling back through. So this tells me the RSI is going to touch here again. And then essentially we have to hope and pray that we have an actual bounce and that we don't hit and fall through. Because if you look at the weekly, the last time, actually, this is an interesting comparison that I see real quick. Last time we touched on the weekly here was January 22nd, 2024. So we were kind of here, we were finally just dying. We were falling through. We bounced off of the 3-day here, and then we actually pushed and then peeled back through, and then we're able to finish and go. So we're kind of in a similar situation here. We're coming up here. The 3-day is right here. What we would hope is we get a bounce and a drive, which would show strength. We have 5 hours left on the 3-day, which would mean this would close, and then the next 3-day would create that new bounce. That's what would mimic something like right here, where that happened. What could unfortunately also happen is like over here, where we clear, and then we fall through, and then we bounce. So it's a couple things to pay attention to. It's a little bit concerning that we don't have a lot of strength and that we can't hold above this like this weekly trend zone. So we're kind of we were hoping and praying we can hold above this like 65,528 zone, but we keep rejecting off of it. If you can see before, we had a bounce once, we had a bounce 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then 7. Then we finally broke down and fell and died. And now this is acting as resistance, which is not a good spot to be in for it to be in resistance. When we go into the lower time frames, like the daily, the concerning thing that I see here is we actually kind of turbo pumped back up on that 3-day pump, but as soon as we got above that 50, we lost it and fell through. So now we're below the 50 on the RSI, which isn't good because if we stay and we keep rejecting off this 50, best case, we just sit here and we chop for weeks. Worst case, we come back down and we retest this like 59K zone and ultimately maybe down into like the 56, but 59 would be the ultimate spot for the daily to have another test. That's the problem here. We need this 50. We can't have this 50 act as resistance. If this 50 keeps acting as resistance, it's going to bring the whole market down as it kind of corrects and moves. And if you look over here, Bitcoin hasn't really lost the 50. The last time it lost the 50 was over here, was January 12th. So on January 12th, it actually tried to push back up, got rejected, and then it pushed back down and had a few weeks more of downward price action. So this might be an interesting case study too, because as we came here, we actually lost the 50 right here, where we kind of just collapsed and died on January 12th, fell all the way through, came up, rejected off of the trend, rejected off the 50 RSI, and then pushed back down, finally bounced off of this EMA 100 right here. And that's what initiated the drive from 39,000 up to about 70,000. So that could be the case of where we're going right now, because we're doing the same thing. We're rejecting, we're coming through, we're falling. If we keep falling, then we come back down and we hopefully bounce off of this 59,615 zone. At worst case, we come back down to the 51. But after the 59, we do have the 3-day support that's sitting right here at like 54. So there's a lot of support in the way. There's also this 56 zone. This 56 zone will be super strong. So ideally, we'd get a huge bounce off of here, but then we have resistance here. So that would create a little bit of a battle and would probably put us in like a short-term bearish environment. And short-term, what I mean is it could be 1 month, it could be 3 months. But we also have to remember post-halving, often it takes 6 months for price action to actually come back up and move to the upside and really initiate the big final phase of the bull run. So when we're looking at here, we had, let's see, we had a first peak here in 2019. And then we just basically went sideways. And then we didn't actually start, we finally bottomed out in March 2020. And we didn't actually start really driving up until like right here was when the bull market started, October 14th, 2020. So if we were in a similar spot and this is October, then I would anticipate us being not in a position for this parabolic phase of the drive until somewhere around like November, December. So that would put us over here basically just sideways and miserable until maybe our first peak somewhere here around December, where we start really going parabolic, which would be interesting because then we'd basically just be like, boop, 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 and just bounce and just be miserable for months on end. So something exciting to potentially look out for. But for me, there's not really a lot showing that we are going to move up. I mean, this 3-day, unless we have a monster rally today, we could rally over the weekend. But the hard part about this is we're more than likely, we have 5 hours left. We're more than likely going to close below this 65.5 zone. And if we do close below that, now we've got resistance again. So it's probably going to start the new 3-day and come back up and test it. But if it keeps rejecting, eventually we're going to lose this. We're going to go back down to that 51 or that 59, 60K zone, which potentially could lead us into that 60K zone if we don't get a nice bounce off this 3-day. What we're hoping for is in 5 hours, this closes and it gives us a turbo pump that starts driving us back up. But potentially, like I said, this could be a situation to where we're sitting here sideways for months on end. And this is kind of how the middle of the bull market works. We have one big parabolic phase initially, which was like the November phase. Then we hit the halving. Then post halving, we basically go sideways for 6 months. And then we finally peak end of year. Then we dump for a month or two. And then we finally peak again the post year. So 2025, somewhere around like March, April, May-ish. So it's kind of something to pay attention to. In terms of what I'm looking for, The markets that I think have the most potential are AI. So this is what I'm paying attention to. I like Render a lot. So not saying it's good right now. It's same situation as Bitcoin. It's losing that 3 days. So I mean, if Bitcoin crashes, all of these things die too. So there's nothing good to look for on these guys right now. So rejecting out that 50, I would like to see this actually holding above because then Render will have strength again. A lot of these tell the same story. FET, same thing. AKT actually had this giant monster pump, but SFP'd, which because of this pattern failure, it's probably going to come back and sweep these lows, which probably puts us back in losing this 50. So none of the AI coins look great right now. It's a time if you have conviction on something, you buy in tiny little increments. That's what I'm doing. I buy in small little increments, little pieces. So I know if I do that, I can put my whole clip out in a period of 6 months and I'm not overextended. A leaf I like a lot. What I liked is it actually pushed above the 50. It actually bounced, and now it's kind of right here. Bitcoin dies, it dies. But I would need a leaf to be above this 0.2792. I've been incrementally buying a little bit. It's only 60 million market cap, so this thing will pump pretty hard, but it will also fall pretty hard. What I did like though, is the weekly coming back through. It actually bouncing off the weekly, showing some strength here. If it does close above that 0.2792, and it can hold a weekly above that, I'd probably be looking to go more into this position. I bought a little bit right here. I'd probably buy more above that. Some of these coins that like the influencers are LARPing, there's not really anything great. Like OXO could potentially touch this 50 and bounce pretty soon, something to look out for. But it's basically been down for 1, 2, 3, 4. It's been down for a month straight, pretty much same as Bitcoin. PAL looks horrible. It's starting to lose the 50 on the weekly. So if it doesn't get a bounce, there really is no bot. I mean, its next stop is like 0.19. Prime, I like quite a bit. I think it's coming close to test that 50. I probably wouldn't buy any more of this here. If it gets above like this 22 zone, that's a good buy. I think if it gets in this 15, I think it's a good buy. Outside of that, a lot of this is just like garbage that influencers are shilling and pretending like the coins have efficacy. Let's go to RWAs. I think that's another meta that's going to do really well. Ondo's on my list. I like Ondo a lot. For me, I would want to see Ondo above this 0.84115 zone. Notice how it was support and then it fell through, and now it's acted as like extreme resistance. If it gets above that would be a good indication for me to jump more into it. Right now it's just sideways. It's kind of straddling this daily on the 50, so nothing good. I like Pro a lot. I think Pro is going to follow Ondo. It's kind of like tokenized real estate, so it's just chilling here, but trying to bounce off the 50 on the daily. Not really the best buy zone for me. It needs to get above, probably above this like 3.19 zone to consider moving into this market. Let's look on the weekly. Yeah, like 0.19, 3.22. Other one that's really hot, I think, is Pendle. Pendle is absolutely dying though. Definitely not a good buy right now. The problem is it's losing that 50 on the daily. When we look on the weekly, it's kind of had a double top. So we need to show some strength here. Ideally, this would start with the 50 holding here on the RSI. I think Rio has a lot of potential. It just doesn't look good. 50 below the RSI. The token losing the 50. So a lot of these just look the same as Bitcoin. Nothing really looks like it's in a great position to pump. So just some stuff to pay attention to. I think there's a lot of efficacy behind these coins, but I think right now is the time where if we're going to get into these things, we need to be careful and get in small, little, tiny increments, because that's going to allow us to be in the safe, or allow me being in the safest position possible and not overextend when this could be an extended period of downside that we're entering. Looking at kind of the things that are on my buy list, ETH doesn't look good. I mean, it's below the 50 on the daily. Sol, same thing, rejected off the 50 on the daily. Sol, if it loses 140, I mean, we're probably looking at retesting the lows again, the 130s. OP, nothing really great. Render below the 50. Say tried, got rejected. INJ getting rejected. TIA getting rejected. STX getting rejected. ARB doesn't even have a hope. Alif's the only one that looks somewhat decent. The only one that's been able to actually clear and hold at this point. So we'll see what happens. Ordi, not there. Sats, not there. Mubi, losing the 50. So just everything across the board just doesn't look great. It's actually honestly like the market looks short-term bearish enough to where I wouldn't be surprised if we had some sort of turbo pump, because it just, the charts don't look great. honestly, everything on my buy list is kind of like, don't buy this right now. Let's see, even Doge, Ondo. Ondo's not bad actually. It's straddling, but we need to see above that 0.84 zone. Slurp had a little bit of a monster rally, but we don't have enough data to really read any sort of charts. No, it rejected. It tried and rejected. Got Book of Meme, another one. Actually, let's go into memes next. So memes are the other one that I think has a ton of potential. Looking at memes, probably let's look at the daily on these. Similar situation, Doge below 50, whiff, rejecting. Bonk actually looks the best. Look at Bonk. So it came through, actually bounced, pushed, bounced, drive. So Bonk is in a decent position. Bonk looks a lot better than almost 90% of the coins we were just talking about. So I think honestly, if Bonk can hold above maybe like this spot, it's got some legs. It could actually move into another rally. So that's kind of exciting for Bonk. It's actually been able to hold above and push beyond where everything else got rejected. So Bonk looks great. Sheeb rejecting, Floki, decent, not great, not good. Pepe, not bad. If it can actually push through here, Pepe would look good. Popcat looks pretty good actually. The freaking Popcat. I told everyone or I think I bought this at like 16 cents or something and called it in dudes. But we were actually able to clear. It actually showed a good bounce off that 50 and it's actually riding through. Now, if it closes right here, probably goes back down. But if we're able to actually push through here, this gives us the potential to actually see Popcat drive even deeper. I mean, we're at 50 cents. This could push Popcat. Let's see. Oops, not that one. This could push Popcat to if it actually holds this and doesn't die and turn into a divergence, I could see Popcat being able to move to like 83 cents, Popcat to $1. Like full disclosure, I've been holding Popcat for a while, but it looks good. I mean, it's one of the few charts that looks like it's not actually dying like everything else. Obviously, if Bitcoin dies, everything will die, but for the most part, it's actually been able to clear a lot of the resistance zones and it's still moving. It looks great. Maybe the first cat coin that can hit a billion. When doesn't look great. Bowden, not great. Bowden's starting to lose that 50 on the daily. Doesn't not really promising. Mog, you just have to hope and pray it holds this 50. It's rejecting. Doesn't look great. Kakinu, no good. Spell, no good. Meme, nothing. Harry Potter, Bitcoin Atomic Bomb Uni, whatever the fuck this thing's called, is it's rejected. And now it's looks it want if it pushes above, it has efficacy. If it doesn't, it's probably gonna die. Smurf Cat, nothing. Toshi, no. So a lot of these are just dying. Brett's obviously dying because the team holds like all the supply. So that's kind of what memes look like. Pups. Pups have been just down only because they haven't launched the rune yet. So people are kind of dumping it. Let's see. What questions do we have? What do you think about Near? Let's take a look at Near. Okay, Near. Not bad. This is actually above the 50 on the RSI. It's holding as long as we don't come back and catastrophically dump. But I think what we can expect here is probably a retest on this daily trend. We were able to actually clear it. We're holding sideways. It's bounced off once. If it holds this, I think it's got some efficacy. It has the potential to run. The 3-day, beautiful 3-day bounce, which putting it in a really good spot. I think what Near needs to do is clear probably this $7 zone. If it clears that, then I think it pushes at least back up to the 8.79 zone. So it actually looks pretty decent. Let's see which one. Sweet. Let's see. Doesn't look great. I wouldn't buy this right now. For me, it's rejecting off that 3-day, so it's actually in a longer term bearish move. I think it probably comes back down to the $1 zone. Let's see. Yai. It's been down only for quite a while. I mean, this thing's almost to a point where it has no bottom, like 5 cents. Potentially probably goes below that. There's not really a lot of data, so I not can't tell, but it has a hard rejection off this 50. Definitely doesn't look promising. Wouldn't be a good buy zone for me right now. I mean, it has no bottom. So I mean, maybe 6 cents, maybe lower. Let's see. Let me know if this is helpful so far. If you guys are watching and it's helpful, just drop a helpful in the comments. Let me know that it's exciting and you're having fun. Let's see. Tau. Tau, similar story, just does not look great. That's the 4 hour. Let's see the daily. Yeah, rejecting off the daily. 3 days, rejecting. It just doesn't look good. I mean, I'd probably be looking at 371 as a potential buy zone for Tau. All right, let's see. Wild or WorldCoin. Is that Wild or WorldCoin? Let me know in the comments. Are you looking for Wild or are we looking for WLD? World, probably, I'll assume it's this one, part of the AI list. Okay. So still not like I wouldn't buy this right now. It's rejecting off the 50. Weekly, it's losing the weekly. If it loses the weekly, its next stop is probably 422 would be a decent first spot to grab. And then like 3.35, that'd be a zone that I'd be looking for. I think it's probably going to visit that most likely. Let's see. ZKML. All right. Remember, if there's no data, it's pretty hard for me to tell. But this one's just, I don't know. I think it's probably going to go back down to 5 cents. Yeah, there's just no support. There's nothing left for it. Yeah, maybe 7 cents. Just not a lot of hope. It's losing the 50 on everything. Doesn't look great. I think it's going to come back down and retest this bottom at the very least. So maybe 5.0532 would be a good entry zone on that. Ohm, let's see, OM. Hopefully this is the right one. I think it is. Not bad. I mean, it's just straddling. It's not really in the best position. I would like to see this hit and have a nice clean bounce, and I would like to see it hold above this daily trend here. Right now, that's at like 72 cents. That would be ideal on the 3 day. I would also like to see it hold above right here, 0.7277. That seems to be the biggest resistance zone. So for me, it needs to be above this trend and it needs this 50 in the RSI to stay above 50. But then it also needs to be above this line. So it like fell through there, then resistance 1, 2, 3, 4, finally cleared. Then touch with six, then touch, then touch, 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 touch. Like if it can actually hold above that and show what I would need is for it to close a 3 day above here and then close another 3 day above that. And then that gives me the confidence that this thing's going to run. It's not horrible, but it's pressuring this break zone, which could be a good thing. So it'd be something I'd pay attention to. If I was going to jump into this, my buy would be 0.7277 above that and another three above that. So you're looking at like a 6 day cycle for that thing to show that there's efficacy. Because the problem here is it's like here, look, it closed above, then it closed above, then it absolutely catastrophically died. So that's what we have to pay attention to. Wilder World. Okay. Is that this one? Let me know in the chat. Is it this one? Wilder? Doesn't look great. Notice how it just keeps getting jeeted when everything, and anytime it tries to pump, it's also losing that 50 on the daily. I think it's got more room for downside. Probably the 0.7045 is the first spot, is what I would be looking for. All right, let's see. Token. Let's see. If I have an entry price of 5.5 on Near, do you propose to take some profit or hold? Well, that's up to you. Uh, I don't have Near. And what I mean, it's straddling the 6.99 zone is pretty pivotal. If it loses that, it comes back down to 6.55. If it loses that, we probably visit 6.14. I mean, an entry down would be down here on this. It's already tested this once. It's above. If it loses this 50, it'll test again. That's what I would be looking out for. If it loses this 50, I would probably look to book some profits. For me, with something like Near, I would be comfortable just holding in the bull run too. Just for me, it's not worth it to try to get in and out of things. If someone wants liquid capital available and they don't want to ride things down, then it would be nice to have some profits to be able to buy back in. Because I'd be looking like, okay, let's take some profits if we lose this, and then if we clear back above this, then I can get back into the thing. All right, token. I like token. Isn't token like a flocky product, Floki? Just look at it on Bybit. I think token has some RWA aspects as well, but I mean it's losing the 50 on the daily, not good. Lost the 50 on the trend, sitting right here on this EMA. I think if it loses this, we probably come back down and visit this like 0.09 zone. So that's what I'd be looking at. Could be see a nice double bounce there, and probably be a good decent bounce, but it's losing the 50 on the daily. Looks exactly like Bitcoin right here. So you're just gonna I would hope and pray that it bounces off of this spot. Let's see, Gala Games. I think similar story. I mean, it's barely hanging on by a thread on this 50. It doesn't really seem like it's going to hold. So we'd hope and pray that this closes in 5 hours and then we have a nice clean bounce. Then I'd be looking for it. If not, probably be looking at like the 0.04 to 0.03 zone right here as a decent buy range, 0.03849 to like 0.04048. Just keeps rejecting right here. You notice it's EMA 200. It's like 0.06049 zone. If it can clear that, it probably moves pretty hard. Like that would be a massive rally if it cleared that. Gas. It doesn't look great. I would not touch this at the moment. The problem with it is it's lost the 50 on the 3 day. It's lost the 3 day trend. Just nothing really in this situation looks good. It looks like there's more downside coming. It's starting to peel over, so you could probably anticipate it testing. I would want to see it above this 50 on the RSI and then above this trend. So it's like 6.11 zone. And then I would be comfortable maybe jumping into it. But for now, I think it needs to get above a lot of this junk. And then I think it would be in a better position to jump in. Ace. And remember, this is not financial advice. I'm just some random dude talking on the internet about stuff in this magical world of internet money. Ace. Uh, I don't know. It's not great yet. It's got a lot of junk to clear. It's gotten hit pretty hard. I would probably be looking for this 50 on the RSI, and I'd be looking for it to clear this 6.003 to like 6.54 zone. I would want these EMA bands to be closer together too, so we can get a nice compression bounce. Overall, I'm not sure if it's the bet. Like right now, it's starting to peel over, but it's so low. This could be a bottom. Like if I was going to get into this, my stop loss would just be right here, 4.199. But then you're gonna, I mean, even if it does run, now we've got resistance at 7.68 and 8.44. So it could potentially end up just bouncing and driving all the way down continuously. So for me, I'd probably wait till it tests like this 7.62, 8.44 zone. The risk reward there is getting in now would be like 5.81 with stop loss at 4.199. If it does run, it's pretty up in profit at that point. But the other downside is this could result in this thing bouncing down into its death, into eternity. Cool. That's everything. Anything else y'all want me to cover? Let's take a look at the macro, like the stock markets. Stocks actually had a decent week. SPY is finally starting to come back up. SPY has a beautiful, absolutely magical 3-day bounce here. So it hit the 3-day RSI on the 50 here, bounced up, and now it's had a week of basically good price action. So if it gets above this zone here at this like 508 and it doesn't die, I think it's got a lot of room to move. It's got good tails. It looks like it wants to come back up and challenge the high again. Same thing with the weekly, beautiful little reset and bounce. So if I think if that holds, we'll probably come back and challenge that 5.18 zone. Same thing with QQQ, like NASDAQ, wonderfully amazing weekly bounce right there, just absolutely magical. So I think if we're able to hold this and it doesn't peel over and die, then it's going to come back up and test this 438 zone. 438 beyond that puts it on a trajectory for new highs again. But it looks like we're actually seeing some really nice bounces on a lot of these. NVIDIA, same thing, beautiful bounce. Probably above that 901, NVIDIA goes to probably hits that 1K zone. Apple doesn't look as great. Apple's below the 50 on the weekly, so Apple's probably going to be sideways and nasty for a little bit. Google actually looks great. Geez, they crushed their earnings, I think. Really nice bounce there. I think Google's going off into the sunset. Microsoft, really, really nice candle. It's trying to bounce off that 3-day. I'd probably wait for another one for confirmation, but it doesn't look bad. Meta, I think, had decent. Oh no, Meta died. Fell below that 50 on the 3-day. That's not good for Meta. I mean, it could put it back to test this 403 zone. Some other ones that are fun. AMD lost that 3-day 50, not great. Trying to bounce, doing a revenge pump off of the weekly to try to get above that. If it gets above that, it probably runs. If not, it's probably got a lot more downside. AMD will probably run with NVIDIA if NVIDIA moves. So that'd be something to pay attention to. Tesla, just a catastrophically hot, just man, what a terrible market. Literally the worst performing stock in all of 2024. And people still love it and want to buy this thing at every possible increment. It blows my mind how something that could be so bad, people love so much and they get so mad when you say that it's not going anywhere. But with that being said, I mean, I don't know if it could go any like it's RSI is literally just chilling down here. It's got to have a revenge pump up to this 50 zone pretty soon, which would put it in like the 188, 190 zone on the weekly. When we look at the 3-day, it's gapped up. It bounced off the absolute bottom. So I would imagine it comes back up to this 49 zone, which puts us in like maybe the 180s on Tesla. Could possibly finally be showing some strength above the 50 on the daily. If it gets a bounce here, it probably keeps running. So, I mean, there's some hope. So, I mean, they missed their earnings, like missed the earnings. They missed their earnings. They missed their earnings. They never do well on earnings. But this time it seems like even though they actually did terrible, just they couldn't have done worse on their earnings. They're finally starting to move again. So maybe it's just so oversold. It's just so wrecked. It finally needs a revenge push to put it back into this this pattern, and we'll see if it can finally break out or just push it back up to 211 and just get stuck in here for months and months and months. Let me check the comments. Which platform do I trade stocks? I use Webull typically. I like Webull a lot. They just introduced futures too. In terms of futures, I typically use NinjaTrader. I like that quite a bit, but Webull to just trade normal stocks. RBX. All right, let's do a couple more and then I'm going to shut down. Shut her down. Let me know if this is helpful. Do you guys like this? Do you want me to do this weekly? Do you want me to do it bi-weekly? What do you think? Should we bring this back? Like how often? What do you like about it? Let me know in the comments so I know. And so I can do this more if it makes sense. And if y'all are like, yeah, let's go, Chan. Let's go, Hacksaw. Let's do this. So let me see. There was a couple more. Let me bring crypto back up. RBX. Are you saying RBX like Roblox? Is that a stock or is this a crypto? Let me know. When you Hexa, when are we getting your course? Oh yeah, we're trying to put it together. Turns out we have like a bunch of badass partnerships and stuff coming with it. So it's going to be the course is going to be legit. So we're going to do like 4 weeks. And if you guys are watching this and you want to be on a list for the course, let me know. Just DM me on Twitter or on Discord if you're on Discord, and let me know that you want to more info on the course when we get it ready to launch, and I'll put you on the hot list. So that way you can get in. Because what we're going to do is we'll probably have to cap it. Because what we're going to do is it's going to be 4 weeks. It's going to be understanding how the market moves, understanding how candles move. It's going to be understanding how the RSI moves and functions. It's going to be understanding how to make decisions based off of support, resistance, breaking, and what confirmations look like. And then each session, we're going to have an actual live Q&A. So not just like a course by yourself. Like I'm going to try to hold everyone's hand every step of the way. So if you want the info when we're ready to drop it and you want to be on the short list, because like I said, I can't have a Q&A with 500 people the whole time. Just DM me and let me know that you want to be on it. And I'll put your name on there. So that way you have a spot when, or at least you'll get more info when we come out with it. Okay, RBX. Let's see. Let me know if it's this one. What is it? It's got to be this one. Let's see. Doesn't look great on the daily. Not sure if it's something that I would be in. Let me know if this is even the right coin. I'm not sure what I'm looking at. It is kind of starting to push up. I would, if I was looking at this, volume is terrible. Just be careful with this one. I would be looking for it to clear like this 1131 zone before I would take any action. Then I would, if it holds above that, I'd be looking at a 0.1925 as a next zone. Oh, third one. All right, let's take a look. Some of these are so freaking hard to figure out. 1, 2, 3. This one. Is that the one we looked at? Oh, that is the one we looked at. Yeah, so that's what I'd be looking for on this one. Like clearing this was great. It needs to clear this. If it clears that, then it probably has room to point like the 0.19 zone, but it would need to be above this like 0.1131. It's going to come up on this 50 pretty soon, which is going to coincide with testing this. If this gets above 50 and bounces and drives, and this gets above this and drives, then it's probably good to go. Let's see, mask. All right, mask network does not look great. What I don't like, let's take a look at the 3 day first. What I don't like is we lost this 50. We're trying to bounce, but we're getting rejected. It tells me we're probably going to come back and test this like 2.77 zone, which could give us a nice double bounce, but overall not good. Lost 50 on the weekly. I'd be a little bit concerned in jumping into this at the moment. I would need to see that 50 regained, which means probably getting above like 3.927. There's a ton of junk here to try to get through. It essentially has just a giant zone of junk from 3.65 to like 4 point. That's kind of the zone that I would need to see some sort of strength above, plus being above this 50, and then I would be comfortable with that. Right now, I think it's kind of just wait and see what the price action looks like as Bitcoin moves. Let's see, AEVO. All right, same thing. Not great. I'd be hesitant to touch this just yet. It needs to be above like these EMA bands, and I would like to see it clear when these are like touching, like these bands touching together, because then it would get the strength to bounce. But that 1.72 to 1.91 zone was what I would be looking for, and I need it to be above that 50 on the daily. Not a ton of data outside of that, but overall, that's what I'd be looking for. I would need these zones to be cleared, and I need that to be above that 50 on the daily minimum, like 12-hour. 4 hour looks like it's due for a decent bounce. It's already got a good bounce, which could put us up, put it above the 50. It probably coincides with like 1.55, 1.69. Maybe it comes back up to this zone. PHB. Let's see. Nothing great. I mean, it lost to 50 and now it's kind of struggling. Looks like it wants to peel around. So same thing. I'd be waiting for that 50 on the RSI to get recovered, and I'd be waiting for this trend to get recovered because as you can see, it'll start like rejecting off these trends, reject, come back, reject, and then it could just end up being like this, which we don't want to get into a situation of because then it's just catching a falling knife. That's the 4 hour. Same thing with the daily. Rejected off the revenge pump, coming back down. So because it rejected off that revenge pump and it's pushing, this could potentially come back down to like this 1.53 zone, which could potentially be a decent buy zone. RBX USDT. Let's try one more time to find this guy. Said it's a rabbit logo. Oh, it's got to be, is it the samurai one? That's probably this one. Yeah, I mean, it basically SFP'd this high, which means it's coming back down to sweep these lows. I wouldn't be surprised to see it back in this 0.06 range. It's also losing that 50 on the daily. Doesn't necessarily look great for me. If it closes down below here, it's probably going to revenge pump up to try to test and clear this. If it doesn't, it's going to keep heading back down and probably come back down and test these lows. It looks like it every time it kind of tries to go pump, it gets cheated down, which then results in it sweeping the lows. So it's like pump, cheated, sweep lows, pump, cheated, sweep lows, pump, cheated, sweep lows, pump, cheated, sweep lows, which ultimately leads this like long-term downtrend. So for me, I wouldn't necessarily want to get involved in this until it breaks that downtrend, which is like, fine, crudely, like right there. Pretty much where it's at. I would need it to break that to be comfortable. If it breaks that, it probably runs pretty hard. But right now, it's been holding strong. It's been in that downtrend since December. So that would be what I would pay attention to. Break this, hold above and not die and get cheated, then it probably actually runs. Cool. That's it. Hopefully this was helpful. Let me know if y'all liked it. If you're on Twitter, tag me. Let me know what you liked about the broadcast. If you're in Discord, tag me. Let me know what you liked about the broadcast. If you want me to do more of these, just let me know in the comments too. Say, hey, Hacksaw, let's do this weekly, bi-weekly, whatever. But if I get a bunch of people to show on and we can have good engagement like we did today, then I'll do these all the time. It's super fun when I'm not just talking to myself. So if y'all are ready to go, then I'll jump back on these and we'll stream more often and make sure that everybody has what they need to win. But just let me know if you're interested in that crypto course, the TA course that we're going to come out with. We're probably a couple of weeks out from it. But like I said, it's a structured curriculum, at least 4 weeks. We're going to have a Q&A where I'm going to lead it and then I'm going to do a Q&A at the end of each one. So everyone really understands. Because of that, we won't be able to have like 500 people in it. So if you're interested in it and you just want to be on the hot list, just send me a DM on Twitter or Discord and let me know. And then I'll put you on that list. So when we do get the info and it is ready, I can send it out to you so you don't miss out. But that's it. If you like the broadcast, make sure you like the YouTube channel and make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. That's Twitter, Chandler SAF on Twitter.